The film opens with a soldier named Kenny deliberating over 2 boxes of cereal until his commanding officer, Sugar, cuts him short and orders him onto the helicopter. They have a mission to get to. Sugar casually mentions they'll be leaping out of the aircraft mid-flight, then strolls off without a second thought. The team is en route to a Filipino island on a rescue operation, tasked with recovering a CIA operative who was seized while collecting intelligence on a Russian arms dealer. Kenny can't stop firing off unnecessary questions the entire trip, his anxiety obvious to everyone around him. His teammates urge him to settle down. Back at the base, Eddie is kicked back watching college basketball when Nia pulls him toward the control room. He makes a detour to the kitchen first, getting into a disagreement with fellow soldiers over coffee. His wife calls shortly after, reminding him to prepare for their baby's arrival. Before heading out, Eddie warns the others to pick up the phone if it rings. It'll be her. They barely acknowledge him, too absorbed in the game. As the helicopter closes in on the drop zone, the team gears up. It's only then that everyone discovers this is just Kenny's second deployment. They warn him bluntly, it's going to be brutal, and he needs to hold his own. The signal light turns red. Kenny fumbles with his parachute in a panic, but manages to pull it open just in time. They touch down on the beach and push toward the target. At base, Eddie and Nia prep the drone and get it airborne to provide aerial support. The team moves silently through dense jungle, establishing comms with Eddie and sharing their coordinates. Kenny then admits something uncomfortable. He's not actually supposed to be on this mission and lacks the proper clearance. The objective is a rescue, though everyone understands it could turn into something far uglier. Tensions flare, particularly with Bishop, who clashes with Kenny over his belief that unmanned technology is more effective than soldiers in the field. Bishop fires back. People die either way, so the argument is pointless. Then Abel notices movement in the distance. Eddie swings the drone camera over to investigate, but the feed cuts out, leaving the team completely on their own. They brace themselves, only to find it's a wild boar. False alarm. They press on and eventually reach the compound, scoping out the guards stationed around a large tent. The team fans out and locks in their positions. Kenny sets up on a small bunker, scanning the enemy base and mapping out the guard placements. He identifies the Russian arms dealer, Petrov, and the others confirm the identification. Then a convoy rolls across the bridge, trucks loaded with armed fighters. The team suspects terrorists, and their hunch is confirmed when their leader, Hashimi, steps out. The mission just got a lot more complicated. Meanwhile, Eddie is out on the range taking casual golf swings when he's called back inside. The drone is operational again. He pulls up Kenny's updated coordinates and locates them on the map. As they monitor the situation below, something feels deeply off. Their instincts prove right when Hashimi suddenly draws his weapon and shoots Petrov dead. The team watches helplessly as the terrorists gun down everyone else, bound by strict orders not to engage. But when Hashimi executes Petrov's wife and then hauls out his young son, that's where the line gets crossed. Eddie launches a missile from the drone, but the impact is still seconds away, so the team shoots Hashimi in the leg, and the missile obliterates the compound. Kenny finds himself dangerously close to enemy fighters and has to stay completely still. The rest of the team simultaneously opens fire on the surrounding soldiers, but a grenade finds its way into their midst. The whole operation devolves into a full-blown firefight. Abel is struck by a bullet mid-battle and goes down. Kenny rushes to help, but there's nothing to be done. Abel is gone. Sugar and Bishop get cornered by RPG fire, fighting desperately to break free. Kenny radios Eddie to destroy the truck carrying the launcher, but the strike comes too late. The RPG finds Sugar and Bishop just before the missile hits the truck. Kenny is now completely alone, caught in heavy machine gun fire, sprinting across the open field and diving into the tree line. He loses contact with Eddie and the rest of his team. When the connection is finally restored, the news is grim. The others didn't make it. It's just Kenny now, and they need to extract him. The surrounding area is crawling with hostiles. To keep Kenny from spiraling, Eddie tells him a helicopter is already on its way and urges him to keep moving. Deep in the jungle, Kenny trudges forward, exhausted and isolated. He freezes. A truck is heading straight for his path, with armed men out searching for him. He sprints across a river and tucks himself beneath a tree as the vehicle pulls up to the bank. He holds his breath, watching the men and their horses cross. Then a dog picks up a scent. One of the men moves uncomfortably close to Kenny's hiding spot, but the dog loses interest and wanders off. The group moves on, and Kenny finally exhales. Darkness begins to settle over the jungle as Kenny keeps pushing forward. Eddie stays on the line with him, filling the silence with conversation to keep his mind off the danger. They discover they attended the same college, and the shared history gives them something to hold on to. Kenny checks on the helicopter and is told it's nearly there. He clears through the tall grass and positions himself in the open, waiting. The helicopter touches down, and Kenny is immediately hit. Gunfire erupts from multiple directions at once. The aircraft returns fire, but is forced to pull away when an RPG streaks toward it. Enemy numbers are swelling, and Kenny is completely surrounded. Eddie fires off a drone missile to neutralize a large cluster of fighters, but more keep coming. A fighter jet is scrambled and unleashes 2 missiles, tearing through an entire line of enemy troops. Yet a handful still remain. The jet swings back around for another pass, the strike landing dangerously close to Kenny. He survives, barely. By morning, Kenny is on his feet again, making his way toward the next extraction point. Eddie keeps him company, and Kenny, almost amused, starts prying into Eddie's personal life. 3 ex-wives, 8 children. Eddie ended up behind a drone console after mouthing off to a superior and losing his seat in a fighter jet cockpit. Then Kenny loses his footing and plunges into a river below. 3 enemy soldiers immediately close in. He takes 1 out and bolts downstream, the remaining 2 in pursuit. Out of options, he throws himself over a waterfall and tucks in beneath it. The moment he resurfaces, he's seized. Eddie gets on the phone with the colonel and lays out everything that has unfolded. He pushes to remain on the mission until Kenny is recovered, and the colonel grants it. Back at the location where Kenny is being held, a lone figure approaches the building and silently eliminates 2 guards. It's Sugar, alive. He frees Kenny, hands him water, and delivers unexpected news. Bishop is also alive, though currently a prisoner. Sugar rallies him as the 2 quietly arm themselves and slip back into the jungle. While moving through the trees, Kenny strips apart a plastic water bottle and scales a tree, rigging a makeshift antenna from the scraps. It works. He reaches Eddie and relays the plan. They're heading back to Petrov's compound to pull Bishop out. Sugar and Kenny map out their approach, while Eddie secures a bomber and confirms the strike coordinates. The colonel, however, orders Eddie to stand down. He's running on empty, and the colonel won't budge despite Eddie's protests. At the compound entrance, Sugar and Kenny quietly run through the plan one final time before slipping inside. They take out the first guard without a sound and advance toward the main building. Inside, 2 men are seated in front of a football match. Sugar moves in and subdues one, brawling with the other, and Kenny gets pulled into the scuffle. They come out on top until another fighter enters with a weapon that fortunately misfires. They drive him through a glass partition and push outside, exchanging fire with soldiers positioned on a nearby truck. Pressing deeper into the compound, they run directly into another group of fighters. Sugar takes a bullet. Kenny hauls him away from the line of fire, fighting off a soldier in the process, and Sugar, barely clinging on, returns the favor. Then a grenade detonates beside them. They regain consciousness, being dragged into cages, battered and covered in blood. Bishop is already there. Sugar is in rough shape but refuses to quit. Kenny tries warning their captors that airstrikes are inbound and they need to evacuate. Nobody takes him seriously. The terrorists set up a camera. Sugar is fading. Kenny quietly assures him they're going to make it out, but he's yanked away and forced to kneel in front of the lens. Sugar holds himself together, right up until Hashimi shoots him in the head. The next bomb is 15 minutes out. Kenny is hauled into a separate room and beaten severely. Across the world, Eddie is strolling through a supermarket. Kenny is forced to his knees while Hashimi lectures him about the land and the grievances that drove his men to take up arms against the West. Kenny cuts him off. None of that matters right now. There are more strikes coming, and they need to get out. Hashimi doesn't believe him and drives a hammer into his face. They submerge him in water repeatedly, demanding to know where the rest of his unit is hiding. Kenny tells them the truth. There's no one else. It doesn't stop the torture. Hashimi, in a rare moment of candor, admits that the violence has stripped away whatever humanity he had left and that he takes no pleasure in it. Then he continues anyway. At the supermarket, Eddie approaches a clerk about an unusual product his wife requested. The clerk identifies it without hesitation and hands it over. The bombers are released. The strikes tear into the building in a thunderous explosion. Against all odds, Kenny is still breathing. He drags himself upright and starts moving, desperate to clear the area before the follow-up strike hits. Coughing through the debris, he grabs a weapon and makes his way down a crumbled corridor, where he finds a man rattling the bars of a locked cage. It's the CIA operative, the whole reason they came in the first place. Kenny hauls him out, then spots Hashimi nearby, still alive. He finishes it. He locates Bishop and gets him out of his cage. 5 minutes until the next strike. Kenny tries to raise the command center. No signal. He calls the base directly, but the soldiers there are glued to their basketball game and simply pass along Eddie's number. Eddie's phone rings while he's still on the line with his wife. He lets it go. Then he plays the voicemail. He's out the door in seconds. He reaches the control station just in time and calls off the strike. Kenny, Bishop, and the CIA agent walk out of the rubble. When Eddie learns that the missed call nearly cost them their lives over a basketball game, he crosses the room and puts his fist through the television. The film closes with the team aboard a helicopter, finally heading home. Thanks for watching and subscribe for more recaps.